Hey guys, welcome back to the Samantha Parker Show. So today, this is part of our Takeover series. It's been so fun. I've been talking with a lot of local business owners, why they got started, what their specialty is. But we get to welcome Jennie back to the couch.
Hello.
Back to the couch. That's my new thing now. When I say it, I feel kind of cringe. I'm like, welcome to the couch.
No, I love this couch. It's comfortable.
It's a dark couch in a dark room. We could probably lighten it up. I should put in a request and be like, could you guys change this out so it's more pink? See what they say.
Blue's my favorite color, so you're in my jam.
Oh, blue is your favorite color.
Yeah.
Do you have the blue lashes in?
I do. They're in the corner here. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I remember you telling me that. I think the first time I met you too, you had an excessive amount of blue on.
Yes. Blue is my favorite.
Yeah.
It's also MEND colors as well.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you vibe, what kind of blue?
It can be North Carolina blue, this royal blue in here. I like kind of all shades of blue.
All shades of blue?
Mm-hmm. But my favorite is kind of this dark blue and then the kind of the turquoise North Carolina blue.
What? I'm going to have to Google that.
It's like the MEND color. So the MEND colors are kind of that North Carolina.
I know what that is.
Blue. Yeah.
I know what that looks like. Like ocean blue?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
North Carolina blue? Is that a thing? Someone fact check her.
If most people who ever have watched sports are like, oh, we know what North Carolina blue is.
Oh, like the sports team. I was like, does North Carolina have a color? I'm fired. I can see it in my head clear as day.
Yeah, you can see their emblem, the blue.
I was like, fact check her. She's making shit up. You're like, no, you're dumb. Yeah,
see, that's the color of blue. Yeah.
Wow.
She just pulled up.
Just shove this mic down my throat. Stupid. Okay, I'm with it now. Okay, but Jennie is the owner of MEND Counseling, which is, what are you guys doing? We're getting waved at. Look at Shannon. Okay. Let's close the curtains. Are they getting a full tour?
Yeah. Tour time.
No, you don't have to actually. I was just...
She's like, look.
We're just going to have to pause for a moment.
She's like, you gave me a directive and I did it, okay?
Just let them go. Okay. So Jennie is the owner of MEND Counseling, which is MEND. I always say it that way because people are like, are you saying men? I'm like, no, MEND. I'm mending my soul, mending my heart. Yes, MEND Counseling. And it's a whole group. Like you're the owner, but you have a whole bunch of therapists.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people are like, hey, Sam, can you give me Jennie's number? And I'm like, oh, I'll just give you MEND's number.
Yes, we have a whole team. I have 7 other therapists. We're looking to add 1 more, so we'll have 8 and then 9 counting me. Very experienced team. A lot of group practices will have a lot of interns and associates. And I'm a big fan of therapists. They need a place to start. I had to start somewhere and get my hours. What I love about MEND is that we have recruited a really experienced team. Most of our therapists have over 7 years of experience, if not 2 decades.
And that's really incredible.
Mm-hmm. They can handle complex trauma because that's essentially what was when I got into doing private practice. I did a lot of complex trauma, somatic therapy, and so a lot of dual diagnosis and very complex cases. So when I built a team, I needed them to be able to handle complex trauma.
Yeah, and I think you've done a great job. I know people who go to various therapists in your... Is it a practice or a group?
Yeah, group practice.
Group. Okay. I'm like, what's the proper terms? I'm all in your little cohort.
Yes.
And nothing but amazing things, you know?
It's so great. Yeah. The therapist's reputation speak for themselves. They've really built a really great referral base for themselves and they do a lot of great work. We get a lot of good feedback about them.
Yeah. So today I want to go a little deeper into your story because the last time you were here, we were talking about, alcohol and just different things like that. So today we get to talk all about you. Are you excited?
I'm excited.
Okay. So why do you feel like this conversation matters right now?
Well, I mean, Sam, when you first came in and experienced what I do, I will always remember this question. You were like, what is somatic therapy? Like, how come I don't know about this? Like, you hear the word therapy and you can do physical therapy. In the medical world, there's a bunch of different therapies, mental health therapy. And so you're just going to hear that word is growing. There's a huge wave coming in for somatic therapy. And I want more and more people to understand truly what somatic therapy is in connection under the umbrella of mental health therapy and why it's so important that people work with therapists that have somatic tools and other tools as well. But somatic tools are important. Okay,
so let's just drop it down to basics because I still feel a little confused. I feel like somatic is a new word, or a new buzzword. It's not really, though. It's finally just people are picking up,
yes,
the good stuff.
Yeah.
But what the hell is somatic?
So the soma means body. So when we talk about somatics, it means we're getting connected to what's happening in the body. And kind of more specific, what's happening in the nervous system. So the nervous system is in our whole body. It's along the spine, right? We have the whole parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system, and we have that connected to our brain, the vagus nerve. So there's so many functions in our body that are managing stress and managing how we interpret our world. So somatics is how the body is essentially recording our experiences. So our mind and our good big frontal cortex is recording and thinking about things. It's processing emotions, but so does our body. It's one of the reasons why our physiology, like if someone gets mad, we're not just mad in our brain, we're mad in our bodies, right? People start clenching their fists, they get their jaw tight. If you guys can remember getting mad, you can even almost like
you want to punch something.
Yeah. It's like the body starts to tense up, and that's a physiological response to an emotion that you're having based on an experience or an event that's happening.
Okay. What about when you just kind of go numb? Just because sometimes I'll drop into a weird, calm, numb state.
But see, that's somatic too. That's the body going, I can't handle any more of this data coming in, these experiences coming in, this sensory coming in. I'm going to shut down. And so that's the shutdown response is still a somatic response. It's essentially, it's like if someone unplugged their Wi-Fi when they have to reset it, they're like, this is all messed up. The lights are all blinking crazy. Let's unplug it. And it just shuts down. And that's also connected to depression. You know, anxiety is an activating response inside the body. Depression is there's so much pressure that just goes, it's like, I got to go offline.
Okay. What about though? I've gotten really good at this, is not reacting and pausing.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of times I'm just kind of pausing.
So an emotion lasts 60 to 90 seconds essentially. And so if you can get to the other side of that emotion, that emotional response, then you're processing and digesting the emotion. You're not getting stuck in it. It's not getting stuck inside the tissues. When trauma gets encapsulated in the body, the sense of safety in your world gets ruptured. And instead of being able to resource and process that rupture, if there's not enough resources to do that, then it gets encapsulated in the body, right? And then it's kind of frozen in time. It's frozen in the whole system, not just in the brain. And so, but a pause is different. A pause is going, what's going on? Let me take a couple breaths. Let me just get my bearings, and then let me process and digest what's happening and get to the other side of this so it doesn't encapsulate inside my body.
Okay. So see, it wasn't as bad as I was like making out to be. I'm like, no, I'm not numbing out. And like, that's when we go back to substances.
Numbing out is more of a shutdown.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I got to go offline. And there's a lot of different reasons why people numb, you know, in regards to the experiences they're having in life.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of trauma that just happens in day to day, but there's also stuff you can't avoid, right? Like, you know, maybe you're walking and you get hit by a car, you know, like there's all kinds of different trauma.
Yeah.
But I really like what you do but I really like the way that you do therapy with the somatic stuff, is because it's not just sitting around and talking. You're like, hey, let's actually move this out. And there's so much science behind it.
So much science. You know, it's one of the things that I think is really important for people to understand, because at MEND, we say it's not just talk therapy. There is value, and I want to make sure this is understood. There is such a value to being able to talk about something. When people are able to be witnessed in safe places, it reduces shame. It helps heal, right? We need our stories heard. There is a time and a place for talking. But sometimes there's so much talking and not enough sloughing off the emotional debris, the somatic debris. That's why somatic tools and somatic modalities are so powerful, is because instead of just circling the drain with talking, that eventually can create re-injury. You know, if we just keep looking at the injury and we never resolve the injury, we never heal the injury, then we just become a part of the injury. And so somatics help move and slough off all of what's keeping it kind of held in the nervous system, and helps the body remember to go, what wasn't safe then is safe today. And I can join myself in the present moment with that safety, and I can reclaim that safety in the nervous system, and I can have more equilibrium. And then instead of those memories having activation doing this in the nervous system,
which for you guys watching, she's kind of like shaking
my hand.
Yeah.
Eventually,
or for you guys listening.
Yeah. If you can unwind what's activated in the memory system, and eventually you can get that to release and let go, then it just sits net neutral in the nervous system, in the memory, the short-term, long-term memory. So look, there's no activation. So now it's something that happened to you without the activation. So you can put a period on it. You healed. Right?
Okay.
So if something bad could have happened, but if you can heal it, it doesn't sit there activating in the nervous system. It now just sits net neutral, and you can be more fully present here in the present moment. And that's the power of somatics, is that it finds the snags, the things that are essentially kind of pinning down the nervous, they're taking up room in the nervous system, and they're keeping the nervous system activated. And we want resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. The body wants to be in its happy homeostasis place. And so when we give it a doorway, we govern this intuitive vessel, and when we give it a doorway to heal, it will. But if we're just talking about it, eventually you can just run out of room that the talking's effective. And so now we've got to move the needle on what it means to reclaim equilibrium and safety in the body and the mind.
Well, I've seen quite a bit of buzz, and I probably just pick it up from social media and different places where they're really like, is talk therapy even useful?
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts?
I think it is. Like when someone first comes to therapy, I don't just jump right into somatics, because also that doesn't set, you want to lay the runway. You want to create a safe runway for the experiences that we're going to have. And essentially we're in very sacred territory. People, when they come in to do therapy, they're oftentimes like, this was hard for me to get here. I have a lot of hard things I want to talk about or get through. And there's a value in the history. There's value in understanding what happened and what's still encapsulated. I need some talking points to find. It's like making a roadmap. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, we need to spend time on your 5-year-old. Hey, at some point we need to spend time.
We lost our light.
Ghosts. Now we're going to talk about ghosts. I'm just kidding. they follow me around.
To you talk, I'm like, God, she's so smart. No, really though. It's wild. That's what I told Tyler. I'm like, she's a wicked smart therapist.
Definitely. There it is.
Oh, hello. And then the Lord said,
and then let there be light.
I made eye contact with it. Oh, no, it was fine.
Okay. So I'll kind of pick back. Can I just keep going? Okay. So I'll pick back up. So the roadmap in through the talking and being witnessed, like oftentimes the trauma, these are things that people have held on to for years. Like they weren't safe to say. If they did say them, sometimes they weren't believed. Like these are huge ruptures in safety. And then sometimes the ruptures in safety were corrosive over time. They weren't things that just happened one time. They happened over and over and over again. That's why a small T trauma can become a big T trauma. Even something like bullying, like a kid that was in 3rd grade that by 6th grade, even by 10th grade, just never got a sense of safety in their social world. That can be really corrosive over time to someone's self-esteem, and that gets locked into the system, right? And what does it mean in the present moment if they're 32 to finally be able to say, I have value, I have worth, So these are things that are really packed up tight, and they try to lock them up. And the problem with locking up traumas, and the body does the best it can in the moment that it tries to deal with the ruptures of safety. That's part of the nervous system's job, is to be like, this is overwhelming. That's why when kids are going through trauma, they'll often dissociate and be like, I'm not here. I'm here, but I'm not here, because they just don't know how to handle the what's oftentimes terrible or what's intense happening to them. Right. Yeah. That's why people can have serious blocks. It's not that they don't remember their childhood. It's that to remember it causes too much internal harm. And so they block it. So you start uncovering those blocks. You have to have the coping mechanisms. You have to have the safety. You have to be able to manage window of tolerance, or all you're going to do is injure the system.
Okay. Question. Can they just stay blocked?
It's interesting because let's say that 2 people got in a helicopter crash, and the way that someone deals with that trauma afterward can be way different. Someone can be like, I lived and I'm so grateful.
And they were like telling everyone what a badass experience it was.
Yeah. And the other one's like just traumatized for much longer. And that has a lot to do with a lot of different factors, but oftentimes it's the way that they were resourced after the trauma. If there's a lot of good resourcing and reclamation of safety. And that's why, like, for example, if someone gets in a car wreck and the nervous system, our nervous system, shock is like shaking. We start shaking. The body is trying to slough off that nervous system, that trauma energy is trying to equalize. And so when people try and I'm not saying that you don't manage shock as you're supposed to, but sometimes people want to stop the shaking. Like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Actually, that shaking is really good for nervous system regulation. Okay. That's why when something scary happens to us, we start to be like, okay, I don't know when I'm going to stop shaking here, but At some point I will. That's the body trying to equalize and do something with that energy. So when people don't have a good way to resource that, or they don't feel safe to tell their stories, or if they tried to, someone didn't believe them, that gets encapsulated. And so by the time someone is trying to share these, it's very sacred, tender ground, and their stories need to be heard. So that's where, this is kind of a long answer, but that's where talk therapy and talking and witnessing and sharing is really important, because it creates the roadmap for eventually where I can do the somatic therapy to help relieve the burden on the nervous system.
Yeah. So basically they kind of go hand in hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll have some times in somatic therapy where we're talking, like, tell me about how this last week went. Tell me about what you did with your coping mechanisms. And because essentially what we're also gauging is, do you have the window of tolerance to do some of these somatic tools? Like if I do Brainspotting, which is like EMDR for people, you know, I've had some people be like, we're going to brain spot every week. And I was like, no, we're probably not, because your window of tolerance is going to dictate whether we're going to do that or not.
Yeah, I had Brainspotting done once, and I thought it was really fascinating because the memory that they took me to, it was very charged.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, whatever.
Yeah. That's where it became net neutral. Now it just becomes, we're not erasing memories, but now it becomes a memory that now has no activation. Yeah. And that's healing the nervous system.
And it could be like, that was still shit-tastic.
Yes.
But I don't really feel upset about it.
Yeah, because you've eliminated the activation that was creating the nervous system, and now it just sits there calmly. Yeah. And so you're not like, well, that was a really hard thing, but now you can say that was a really hard thing and I have no activation around it. Okay. And so it's almost, think about being bogged down. You're not bogged down by all this nervous system tension. You can live more fully in the present moment, and you can have more equilibrium in your system and more safety. The body and the mind want to know that our world is safe, right? Is there a sense of safety with our people, with our places, with our experiences? And so when it gets ruptured, we need to resource those ruptures. And if we didn't have enough resources, they get encapsulated. Yeah. And so somatic therapy helps unencapsulate and return to equilibrium.
Oh, that was really well explained. You do a really good job.
Thank you.
I'm all okay. That's all we need to say today.
Well, and that's somatic therapy in a nutshell.
Goodbye, everyone. No, but okay, really though, you don't talk about yourself a ton. So why did you become a therapist? Well, wait, do you go to therapy to talk about being?
I do.
In therapy?
Yes. I think every therapist should have their own therapist. And I think every therapist should be doing their own deep work. I heard this a long time ago, and it really holds strong for me too, is that you can only drill as deep with your clients as you're willing to go yourself. So if you're not drilling deep and really mining whatever needs to constantly be worked on in yourself, it's hard to hold really deep space. If you're going to be working with complex trauma, you better have drilled deep yourself.
Okay.
You know?
But why did you become a therapist?
So it was when I was playing softball in college. I was like, this is kind of ending. And it's weird when you're an athlete. Sometimes you're like, well, I'm just used to being an athlete. And when you look ahead, you're like, well, I can't always be an athlete. I'm not going to be in the pros of softball, you know? And so I started thinking about what I wanted to do.
Did you play college?
I did. I played in junior college, and I was kind of burned out and done by my second year.
That's cool.
I didn't want to go on.
I played softball in high school.
Yeah.
Well, and then like all through,
Yeah. I came from a really active athletic family. Like my sister played basketball at junior college. Then she went to UNLV. My brother ran track in college. My brother played tennis. And so we were all just really active, and I wanted to play basketball or soccer, but softball was where the opportunity came.
Okay. This is a random side question. Mm-hmm. Have you ever played as an adult on like the co-ed leagues here?
I'll tell you this. We got together when I was at it's UVU now, but it was UVSC. We were
I
friends.
did a semester at UVSC.
Yeah. It's a cool place. We're really good friends with the baseball team and then a couple of other guys. We got together a co-ed team, and we would travel and do these tournaments, and we would win them. Yeah. Like we win these trophies.
You haven't played
coolers.
here in St. George though?
I have. There's a couple. I played for a while.
I played 1 year with the team here.
It gets crazy here. Yeah. St. George doesn't mess around with softball.
Like my hands hurt and everything. And they kept being like, you need a bigger mitt. And I'm like, I'm not going to buy a bigger mitt to play on this like for funsies league. They didn't even have matching shirts.
In co-ed, they really like to sometimes, if a girl can handle the guys' throws coming from short and third, and also the guys that can throw, like some of these guys have some arms. They can throw people out from the outfield into first base. So I would always play first, because even if the throws were crazy, I could usually get them. And then the gal that I played with in college, she would play second, and then we'd have the boys on third or short and third. And so we had a really good team at the time. We were
Yeah, I just played a couple years ago on a team here. They like recruited me and I was like, sure. And I mean, I was like taking like falls and rolling and grabbing the ball. And I'm like, I was leaving and I'm like, I can't do this.
You get so sore.
Yeah.
In your later years, it's like, if you don't warm up properly, I always tease the people that come and do body work, and I'm working on them. I was like, you don't need to warm up properly. You can't just like go out there. I'm like, you're like in your 40s now. You gotta like,
I can whack a ball too, you know?
I know.
I'm like, they're pitching so slow. So if you grow up playing softball, right, and you get into fast pitch, and then on this, I was like, they're pitching so slow.
Yeah,
I was like, this is too easy.
Yeah. So it's fun. Like once I started having kids, it just got really tricky to sometimes get to the games and do all the things. But yeah,
how do you feel about a MEND/Samantha team?
We should do one. I would do it. I had to learn when I was on a team, when I was in residential treatment, to just like smile and not be competitive. Because if you have a competitive spirit, sometimes you're like, why didn't you hit the ball? Or come on, dig that up. And you're like, everyone's just here to have fun. It's fine.
What I didn't understand about the team that I was playing on is like, why didn't we get matching shirts? I was like, you guys, like all these other teams like pitched in and bought their shirts.
Yeah, why didn't you? That's weird.
Yeah, and we looked like idiots. That was why we were bad, is because we looked like idiots.
You guys need to come up more professional.
Okay, but anyways, back to therapy. You're playing softball.
So I had like 17 different professions I swear I wanted to do. I was going to be a dental hygienist. I was going to go, and I loved animals, so I was going to be a vet.
You look like you could be a dental hygienist.
I did an internship with an orthodontist. Those guys are pretty serious and very intense. And I was like in borderline. I was 16 at the time. I was like, I felt like he was mean. And so I was like, I don't think I can do this. I was like, these guys are very serious. Like you hand them the tool wrong and they would just drop it. And I was like, this is hard for me, because I'm just like, let's be nice. And he's like, let's be effective. So that went out the window. So when I did my first psychology class in college, it hit me. I was like, this is the field I want to be in. And after that, I ran with psychology. So I got my bachelor's. And then worked on getting my master's. I was in wilderness therapy while I was getting my master's. And eventually, while I was in wilderness therapy, I was a therapy assistant and just working towards. And then while I was in grad school, I also went to massage school, because I knew that, one of the things that I can see is like 10 miles ahead. And when I read The Body Keeps Score with Bessel van der Kolk, I knew that somatic therapy, it just made sense. After working on bodies, you can't help but you pick up people's emotional debris and somatic debris. What's held in the fascia, what's held in the muscles, the very cells of our body, the bones. Like I could be working on someone, I was like, hey, did you take a blow here? Or like I could tell if someone had been hit because of the way that even just very micro, like nonverbals. And they're like, how did you know? And I was like, your body's responding like it did. And because I'm a therapist too, we could unpack that. A lot of times if you go to a massage therapist, they're going to go, you're having emotional release and you're safe, you're fine, but they're not going to really unpack that or unwind that, because it's not their lane. So because I would be working on bodies.
That would actually be odd, I think, if you're in your setting, yes, but like if I was just getting a massage, then all of a sudden,
to do therapy, you're like, I didn't come here for that.
Yes.
Yeah. And it would take sometimes my clients too, that when I was strictly just doing body work, because I don't do massage, I do structural body work. Like it's a muscle alignment therapy. And it's all through the clothes. It's very specific to healing snags that are in the muscles. But again, inevitably, and all of my clients know that I'm a therapist too. So when it was safe enough for them, I'd be like, hey, this is coming up. Just be aware, right? And they would want to talk about it and unwind it. And so, in those experiences, and even when I was in grad school, I was like, this is, somatic therapy is going to be a thing. And I saw that over 10 years ago. And so I just knew that eventually I wanted to build a practice where more holistic health. I'm a big fan of collaborations. It takes a village, and you need a big wrap. It's not just one way. That's why the more tools and modalities that you can have, the more effective of a therapist I think you can be. That's why I think just talk therapy eventually hits a dead end, because you're going to hear the story, you're going to understand the story, you're going to have insight, but insight needs to eventually be integration.
Yeah.
So
I know the last time I went to a therapist, not in your group, but I was sitting there and I was like, this just feels like a giant circle jerk. Like I just talked, I know what she wants to hear. And I was like, just talking my way through it. And I got in my car and I was like, she should have paid me. And I'm like, I think I'm like ready to try something.
Like, I think I'm done.
Yeah. Just graduate into something new. Mm-hmm. But talk therapy was so good for me, especially as a kid. My dad did a great job of putting me in therapy at 17. And
think about like, I look, kids, teenagers, they're having big emotions sometimes still in little body. They don't have skills. They don't have the skills that hopefully we develop by the time we're adults. And so sometimes they're just doing the best they can. So even just getting them to talk more is a win, Yeah. Like, hey, tell me more about this. And hey, this is safe. And kids get used to lying. They get used to hiding. And so having a safe place where you're like, I'm not your mom. I'm not your teacher. Like, this is a place where you tell me the things so I can actually help you with the things.
Oh, I'm a big advocate of kids having, a safe adult. That's like someone they can tell their stuff to. Like, maybe an aunt, I had 2 great aunts growing up, and I felt like I could tell them stuff that I knew they weren't going to tell my mom,
Sure.
And they were like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, but I'm not going to tell your mom. You just call me,
Yeah.
Like, you need that.
Well, and even be able to coach like a kid or a teenager, like sometimes like, don't tell my mom or don't tell my dad. And, especially in working with minors, it's like, hey, there are some things that I'm going to have to tell your parents if you won't tell them, but let's teach you how to tell your parents. And I teach parents, like, you're on the front lines with these kids. Don't let them bench you in the hardest times of their life. So if you don't want them to bench you, then you have got to create safety and safe conversation. So even if you don't like what they're hearing, how do you still make hearing it safe for them to tell you, even if you disagree with what they're doing? And that's a tricky dance because you don't want to just hear them be like, well, you can do whatever you want, but you also want to create like, hey, you can come to me with the things. I may not agree with what you're doing, and there's at times maybe consequences, but this is a safe place to tell the things.
Yeah.
And if more kids and teenagers and young adults could align with their parents instead of bench them, because ultimately those are the people with the most wisdom, right? They've had the most life experiences, and nobody loves them more than them. And so they're the ones that want to help you the most.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Both of my kids go to therapy, actually.
Yeah. I think it's...
One goes to your group and my other goes to somewhere else, but yeah.
Yeah. And how has that helped them?
I mean, a lot.
Safe places. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I don't really want to tell like their experiences.
Well, sure. But does that safety, can you see that a safe place for them to unpack things is helping them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My son's therapist actually taught him all these really cool card tricks.
Oh, that's cool.
And I mean, if that's all he took away from it, he like shows everyone these like card tricks all the time, and he's like really invested in it. And it's been funny too, because then him and my dad have like taken the card tricks further, and they're like FaceTiming each other with magic tricks.
So it's created a connection point. Like, isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
I love it.
But it was really funny. I was like, because I told my husband, I'm like, oh my God, are they just teaching him card tricks? And Jake's like, no, they can talk, and that's how the guy's connecting with him.
Yeah, I do that all the time with some of my teenagers or even kids. I'm like, we'll play things or do things at a game.
You got card tricks?
I don't have card tricks. I have a game called Mancala. I really love playing it with them because it's strategic and you can sit there and play it while you're talking. And there's a couple different games that I'll play, and they love them. You don't want someone to come to therapy and hate it and like, well, I'm coming because my mom wants me to. You want them to come to therapy because this is helpful.
Yeah.
And if I have your ear, you're going to be way more interested in the wisdom I have to share than if you're just here because you were supposed to or you had to. Like, I don't got your ear. You're not really listening to me.
Yeah. Okay. So you decide to be a therapist. What really drew you to be like, I'm going to create this? I'm not going to call it an empire because that doesn't seem like the right words, but you really have created this really amazing. Why? Because I don't know why I feel like Jennie's over there. She's created this huge empire, but that almost feels wrong for therapy. So I'm like, what am I calling it?
This place of healing. Well, for me, when I got out of doing residential treatment, I wanted to work with people that weren't made to be in therapy. They wanted to be in therapy. And because I just have a really huge skill set. And because of that, I got really full really fast. And I really feel like I'm built for this work. It's hard to get me tired in it. I can work a lot. And everyone's like, how do you work so much? I'm like, I just don't get tired. Like, I love it. I love helping people.
People ask me that too. They're like, you're just so busy all the time. And I'm like, oh, am I?
Yeah. I love what I do. Yeah. If anything, I definitely have to sometimes bracket time because I obviously want to spend time with my family, my horses and those kinds of things. But it's hard to get me tired in this work. And I just got so full so fast that I was like, I can only help one at a time. And then I saw this kind of in my own kind of journey when I was working with my own journey of psychedelic healing. Like, that's another thing that I did, a year-long training for psychedelic-assisted therapy. And when you're working
can we
with
just
those
pause
molecules,
there real quick too? Just for you guys listening. So I've done, different things, but I have to say, and it was presented as like, it was a guided journey. I mean, and it was, but I have to say the experience I got out of it was not awesome. And so I think it's really important what you just said there. Like, you did an entire year, you guys, like, just because some girl says she's like woo woo and she'll take you on this mushroom trip, I really think that there needs to be credentials around it.
There definitely needs to be safety. Just like anything, those molecules can be injurious if they're not used therapeutically. And And when you're dealing with altered realities, you better be anchored in safety so that it's a safe place. I'm in a safe place with a safe person. It's safe to journey. And so in my own journeying, there was, and some of this is silly, but and this kind of dates me for sure, but there's a movie called Field of Dreams. And
there's a movie
if you build it, they will come. And I literally saw a fence and there was thousands. It was insane how many people were behind the fence. And I could only get one at a time in with me. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is insane. This isn't helpful. Like, this isn't enough. I need a team. And so I knew that I couldn't just be me. I said, I need a team. I need to get 10 in at a time. I need to get more people in at a time. There's also this story about a man throwing starfish in the ocean. And this guy comes up to him and he's like, you can't save all those starfish. And he throws one in the ocean. And he goes, yeah, but I just saved that one. And so for me, that's kind of the metaphor that I use. Is I'm just trying to throw as many starfish back in as I can.
Oh, that's awesome.
And if I can get 10 people helping me throw the starfish in, that's why sometimes when people are like, aren't you worried about people competing with you? Or there's a lot of therapists here, but there is way more people that need help than there are even therapists. And when people get busy about, well, I'm going to watch how you throw a starfish in, I'm like, why? You should start throwing your own starfish in. There's a lot of people that need help. Stop watching each other throw starfish and get them in the water. Like, just help.
That's so interesting. Yeah, your journey the last year has been so interesting. And you know what it is you hit kind of that level where you were getting, I'm going to say big, you know, not you and your ego or anything.
Sure.
Like, you're a very grounded, amazing person. You're one of the most amazing people I know. But it was like, you could tell Jennie's like hitting this level of success. And I do see what happens is people are like, how dare you throw the starfish in the ocean?
And I'm like, why aren't you throwing starfish in the ocean? There's a lot out here. We all need to get him back in the water.
Because I got it the year before.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I was like, why is everyone being mean to me? Yeah. I just don't want to drink alcohol.
Yeah, that's it. So for me, that's the big metaphor I go off to is the more people we have that can help, the more that there's no shortage of people in this world that need help, and it will always eclipse how many practitioners we have. Like, when people say fields are too saturated, I'm like, no, there's just not enough people yet that know about you and that know how you can help them. So that's why I love collaborations. Like, I think the more collaborations, the better, because I literally saw it wasn't even just thousands; it was hundreds of thousands. Like, it was insane how many people needed help to the degree that there were helpers. And I'll never forget that. I was like, that's why we need teams.
That's really cool.
That's why we need collaborations.
Yeah, I've had moments like that where just something clicks in and you're like, I just think about it over and over. And you're like, I don't know what that was, but that was a big moment for me.
It was, yeah. And that's where I knew I had to build a team. I was like, because I was just going to be fine with my own thing. Because let me tell you, it's easy to do your own thing. This has been hard. But it's been so worth it. Like, I love what has been built.
It is kind of hard because you introduce a new layer to yourself. You're like, okay, now I got to be a good leader, and now I got to be a good business owner. And now I got to do all this added.
It's grown me in
items.
ways. Yeah, you don't go to grad school in therapy, and they probably maybe now they build in more business classes. But you definitely don't leave there with I know how to be a therapist, and I also know how to run this amazing, great business. What I've learned and what grew me, and also thresholds. It's interesting because I just don't get very stressed anymore. I just grow capacity, and because for a while I get really stressed.
Okay,
and that stress was literally sometimes there was a year where I had so much inflammation in my body. I felt like an alien in my body. I was just not managing stress well. And now I'm like, I'll just grow capacity. It's changed me in a really beautiful way in regards to what it means to, if you're going to grow something even moderately, not even big, but moderately or big, you've just got to be able to handle capacity. You got to grow capacity to handle, because the stuff doesn't stop. Even just last week, I think about the extra things I was managing on top of my caseload. And I was like, and someone's like, how do you not get stressed? I'm like, I just continue to go, oh, that's part of what I chose. And I'll just keep growing capacity to manage this, and over here.
Well, and sometimes too, it's a blessing to have pressure like that, where you're like, okay, we've grown, and people are like, oh, what are you going to do? I've never asked anyone that though. I've never been like, well, what are you going to do? Because now you have all this other stuff. I'm like, but I look at it as a blessing. I'm like, oh, this is a blessing to think oh, how are we going to handle this new load? You know?
Well, I think sometimes it's that when you look at cognitive behavioral therapy, metaphors or flips, what flips in your mind, what can be the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. Someone said this one time, I read this thing, what a blessing it is in your life to have built so much of what you always wanted. And so if it's making you busy or sometimes you're tired, what a blessing. I was like, that's such a great way to look at it. This is what I wanted. This is what I built. I do want to sustain it. I do want it to be magnificent. I do want it to help a lot of people. And I was like, that's right. What a blessing. The days I'm tired, I'll be like, what a blessing.
Well, sometimes we just get tired, you know? I always do find it fascinating though, like other people's outside perception. And I'm like, well, what the hell do you do all the time?
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing right now?
Yeah. But I think that's why decompression and like your own therapy and your own places, like I don't just go to therapy. Like I have a craniosacral therapist I work with, going and spending time. You've seen my horses. People are like, do you ride?
I have seen your horses because now I'm obsessed with using you on all my graphics.
Rianne's a special horse. She just is striking and she's so sweet. Even that day, that all the different challenges with the wind and the tarps, like I was surprised at how well she did because I was like, there's a lot of distractions here.
I know.
Today.
I forgot it was cold that day and I'd sent something over to Cindy with, and I was like, I just told Jennie she's now like our poster child. Yeah. And she's like, those were so great, but it was so cold. And I'm like, oh, I forgot it was even cold.
I know. Well, but it's even just spending time, like a horse's electromagnetic field is 5 times larger than humans. And that's why they can be so for me, I don't have someone's like, well, if you're not riding them, why do you have them? I was like, because that's not why I have horses. They're just therapeutic for me to be around, like pulling them out and even just brushing them and grooming them and making sure that, doing their care, like making sure all their salt blocks are hung. Like to me, that's the joy of having the animals, and then spending time with them is very like healing and just calming. So to the degree that you have a high amount of things that you're doing that could create pressure, it's just like if I was to work on a muscle that was tight, to the degree that I put the pressure on to get it to release, I can put too much pressure and the body's going to fight me. It's going to push back and it's going to kind of try and throw me off of it. If I have to push too lightly, then it's like, what are you doing? Nothing's happening here. I have to put the right amount of pressure. So when you have a lot of pressure on you, you need your counter pressures. You need your counter things that create pressure off the system. And those are my outlets. Time with my kids, my family, my horses, the therapies that I do, the craniosacral, my own therapy, even getting my nails done or my hair, things like that are therapeutic. Like my lash lady is one of my best friends. And so when I go do lashes, I was like, and let's talk for an hour, like it's a releasing outlet. In fact, the people in those industries, the hair, the nails, the lashes, I'm like, you guys are like mini therapists.
Because my daughter has her nail business now, like she did mine.
Oh, they're beautiful. She does a good job.
She does crazy nail designs. You've seen some of them. I'm like, you go, girl.
Yeah. Some people just have a knack for that.
Yeah, she's their little tiny brushes and she's her little tiny hands.
Yeah.
But I told her, I'm like, people will tell you wild stuff while they're getting their nails done. And she's like, you were right. People are telling me the craziest stuff.
They just unpack. They're unwind. Yeah.
Because I'm like that too. I'm like, my nail girl knows everything about me. Like that was like
sometimes
my confidant.
You leave those appointments, you're like, I think that was TMI, but
she asked.
Hopefully it's a safe place. Yeah.
She asked. She knows that she's seen me cry. She's seen it all.
Yep.
That and like my wax girl. I feel like we're besties. Like I'm like, we're bonded for life.
Well, those are some vulnerable places we'd be working. Like, you might as well be going to your gynecologist if you're going to a waxer. So yeah.
I know. Every month. And I'm like, I'll see you next month. Then I'm like, should we go to lunch or something?
Yeah.
Probably not. But yeah, I'm like, the other day I saw her out somewhere and I pulled up and I was like, hey girl. And then we drove off and someone was like, who is that? And I'm like, that's my wax girl.
Yeah. There's like safe places for women. And those are like, again, but even those self-care pieces are counter pressure to the pressure. And that's why I think even moms have to have times where they're not moms, right? And they and they have to have times where they're just, partnerships have to have time where they're just partners and they're not parents. And people also have to have times where they're not a wife or a husband or a mom. They're just them.
I know. I do miss
just me.
My husband being in the Army only for the one weekend he would do every month. I was like, I really kind of miss that weekend.
Yeah.
That was the only piece I miss.
Yes.
And I don't miss it that much, but yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, you just get in bed by yourself. And I'm like, I can just like not do dinner. I'm like,
and I can just do whatever I want. But that's where we just need, sometimes we just, and that's why like, even with my guy, he loves what he does in the garage. Like, and so when he's having his garage time, I'm always like, hey, I got the kids. You need this time. It's his decompression time. And, and I can always tell like, hey, if he's spending time in there, he needs time away from being a parent. He needs to just be him, and those are that like releasing pressure to the degree that you have pressure on top of you. And you need those counterbalances.
What does he do in the garage?
He does all kinds of things.
Well, what kind of garage
he has dirt bikes. He has tools. He works on all kinds of things. And so he just kind of tinkers in there. Yeah. But it's like, if he's in there, don't bug dad,
That's awesome.
I mean, the kids can go in there and he's cute with them, but it's like, okay, come on, like leave dad alone.
You have 4 kids, right?
Yeah, I have 4 boys.
4 boys, yeah.
Yeah. So I got batches. I've got a 19 and a 17-year-old, big gap. And then I've got a 9-year-old and a 5.5-year-old.
Yeah.
So
they're so cute.
Yes.
You're such a good mom. You know that?
Thank you.
Yeah. It seems like your older boys are really into you too.
Well, one of the things, that's what I tell parents too, is, again, my teenagers are about to enter some of the toughest, kids are what they are, but like teenage years and young adult years, sometimes they're just tough, and you're making big decisions and you're growing. And I just want I want to have the kind of relationship with them where they come to me and they ask me the hard questions, and it's safe to talk. Like, don't push me away and hide your life from me. Like, I'm here to know the things and to help you. And so just nurturing a relationship I have a really great relationship with my parents. I consider them some of my the most wisdom and like deepest friends, and they continue to show up for me in my life in a really powerful way. And that's the kind of relationship I wanted to nurture with my kids.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You don't hear a lot of people say that.
I know. And my siblings are that way too. Like, I have a really close relationship with my siblings. And so I just wanted to foster that with my kids and also be able to be there for them. And so but I also love playing with them, like being playful. So my 17-year-old's not a big fan. I mean, he's mixed. Like, he'll do TikToks with me. My 19-year-old is like, absolutely not. But then my 9-year-old will do them all the time with me. So I'm always
seen
like,
your 9-year-old on TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
but
fun.
That's just a fun way to, and with my 17-year-old going to college, he's going to the U. I'm like, we got to get our TikToks. And he's like, Mom, enough with the TikToks. I was like, I'm going to get to 1 million views. I need your help. Okay. I need you to do TikToks with me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jennie, what's your, okay, Jennie, where can people find you online?
So we have a website. It's mendcounselingcenter.com. And we also have us on our socials, same hooks, MEND Counseling Center, and Facebook. And
then if you guys come over to my Instagram, so that's Samantha Parker, if you comment on any post or send me a DM with the word MEND, MEND, I'll send you the link right over to the website.
Yep. And then you'll see us in the different things that you're doing, like your impact walks. I have a lot of people asking me about those, and they come.
Jennie always comes, and then you sponsored the last one.
Yes, it was so fun. And I think those are great spaces for women. And also some of the guys have been like, can men come? I'm like, well, there's some men there.
I have been trying so hard to get the dudes there.
Yeah. So I've had a few. I was like, no, you're happy. I'm bringing 2 guys this next time for the doctor's walk. Yeah.
And some of the problem, I think, is because I've only had girls show up. So I only have videos of girls. Because someone said the other day, the walk you do for the ladies. And I'm like, no.
It's for everyone.
Not in any marketing does it say for the ladies.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully they start to trickle in. And
I'm just going to stock photo of dudes in there. Little paper cutouts.
Yeah. And those are great collaborations. I think, I've met some really amazing people, and I always tell people, like, it takes a village. We need community. Community is a powerful piece of our mental health.
Yeah.
And so when we connect and we create these connections, and then we just help each other. Like the businesses I've met, I didn't even know existed. And that's what I want people to know too, is MEND Counseling Center is here. We do unique therapies, not just talk therapies, somatic therapies, but there's also a lot of incredible group practices here. And so I always tell them, come on these walks. Like, you can't have too many therapists. You can't have too many plumbers. You can't have too many, like, come
for sure.
and connect.
Yeah, absolutely. So. I love that. So thank you for spreading the word. Thank you for sharing about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you guys might have heard Jennie and I on the radio together too.
Yes.
I get so excited when I hear it, and I send you weird videos of me listening to it.
You're on.
You're on. It's us, Jennie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then big event in April too. You'll be there.
Yes.
At the
I'm excited for that.
Supper Club.
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah, you got your spot.
I did.
I saw it. I was doing some basic math yesterday, and I was like, everyone at this table did not sign up. I'm like,
I did right away, because if I don't, then I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't get my spot.
I know. So it's going to be pretty cool. But thank you for your time today.
Absolutely.
Thanks
I
for
love
driving
being on
over
your
here.
podcast. Yes.
I know traffic was a little nuts today.
Yeah.
It's weird to say we have traffic.
It made me do my somatic breathing and not have any road rage. I was like, this is a practice so that I can show up calm for the podcast. Because I was like, damn, it's crazy the things that can irritate you. Yeah.
I did notice this morning as I was driving over, when you hit that curve. So if you guys aren't listening, we live in oh my gosh. For those of you who don't know us locally, we're in St. George, Utah. But when you hit that curve off the freeway, Dixie Drive, how you go over, I did notice they're starting construction where it's going to go through that nature area. There's going to be a road that goes from here or from there straight to the light that's right here.
Yeah, they need to grow the infrastructure.
They've started
tight
it
here.
Yeah. But it's supposed to kind of go through, and then I think it'll go over the river. And then over some of the trails, because I'm like, these are our running trails,
Yeah.
And then it comes out like this light that's here by Dutch Bros.
Just to kind of help with the traffic.
So now we'll be able to go straight across.
Yeah.
Versus.
Well, it shouldn't take a half hour to get to somewhere that used to take 10 minutes. But
it's also prime St. George season right now.
Right. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, all right. I love being on here, Sam. Thanks for inviting me.
I know. So this is time number 3. So we'll have to see you back for time number 4 soon.
Yes. I'll, give me a topic. I can talk for days.
Awesome. Thanks,
Okay,
Jenny.
take care.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the Samantha Parker Show. I wanted to let you know that you can head over to Substack and you can subscribe to Sam's Sober Club. I've got a lot of really amazing episodes over there, like my 30-day sober journal and some subscriber-only content. I also blog about your first 30 days being sober, your first day sober, your first year sober. I am sharing it all over on my Substack. So come join Sam's Sober Club. We've got it linked up in the show notes. And thank you so much for being here on the podcast.